Mrs. Davis has arrived at A&E after falling over and injuring her right arm. She has been triaged and sent for an X-ray of her arm and is awaiting the result.
Well, Mrs. Davis, I can't see any broken bone. You're lucky, it's just a sprain.
Are you sure it's not broken? It doesn't feel right.
I'm quite sure. Now, it will be painful for a few days, so I've asked the nurse to fit a support which should help ease any pain. Now, if you need any further pain relief, I'd recommend paracetamol or ibuprofen. If you'll wait outside, the nurse will call you shortly, okay?
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Right.
A week on from Mrs. Davis's X-ray, she has been called in by the A&E consultant after he picked up that the fracture in her arm had been missed.
Mrs. Davis, I'm sorry to call you in, but when I looked at your X-ray this morning, I could see that you've got a fractured radius.
What does that mean?
Well, may I take a look at your arm?
Yeah.
Okay.
The pain hasn't eased since last week. Perhaps I should have come back sooner.
Yeah. Mrs. Davis, we will need to take another X-ray to check, but I have to say, it looks like the bone may have moved. Now, if that's the case, you will need to have it fixed.
Great. I was told it was just a sprain. How was the fracture missed? What does fixed mean? Will I need an operation?
Yes, Mrs. Davis. Now, if the X-ray confirms that the fracture is displaced, then you will need an operation to put some screws into the bone to fix it into place. But let's first get you re-X-rayed, and then we can see if anything needs to be done. All right.
Mrs. Davis' check X-ray showed that the bone had become displaced and required further
Take a
treatment.
seat. Okay, let's have a look at your X-ray. Okay. Yes, as I thought. I really am sorry about this, Mrs. Davis, but it appears that there is a fracture and the bone has moved, so you will need surgery to correct it.
I'm obviously unhappy about this. I've had to take a week off work and I really can't afford to take any more time off. Listen, this should never have happened and I want to complain.
Yes. Mrs. Davis, well, I can understand how upset you are. So, is it okay if I pass your details on to the concerns team?
Concerns team, what are they going to do?
Yeah, what they do is they will look into what went wrong and would report the findings back to you. Now, Anne Jones is the name of our investigating officer, and she would be your contact throughout the investigation and would also be able to provide you with any support or advice you need.
Okay.
Okay?
The consultant gives Mrs. Davis a leaflet telling her about the availability of assistance to enable her to pursue the concern, advice as to where she can source such assistance, information about the process for handling of her concern, the timescales within which she can expect a response to the concern.
In the meantime, we will arrange for you to come into the hospital tomorrow and have the corrective surgery done. Is that okay? Yeah. Oh, there we are. Now, do you have any questions for me, Mrs. Davis?
No, I don't think so.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much anyway.
Thank you. Bye, Doctor.
Bye-bye.
Mrs. Davis underwent surgery the following day. The interim report was sent to Mrs. Davis well within the 30 days of her concern being raised. The interim report outlined the investigation and what actions have been taken and advised her, amongst other things, about the availability of advocacy, support services, access to legal advice, and her right to take her concern to the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales. It is now 2 months since Mrs. Davis's concern was raised. The organisation has completed their investigation and identified what actions will be taken in light of the outcome to improve the quality of service and reduce harm, waste and variation in practices. Anne Jones, the investigation officer, has spoken to Mrs. Davis a few times.
Hello, Mrs. Davis. It's Anne Jones here from Towngate Hospital. Yes, we have spoken a few times. How are you? Oh, I'm glad to hear that you're on the mend. I was ringing to arrange a convenient time for you to meet with us to discuss the investigation and the outcome of your concern. Yes, the report is now complete and we can talk through the report as part of our meeting. So is Tuesday the 5th at 2 o'clock okay? Great. Okay then, see you then. Thank you. Bye. Hello, Mrs. Davis. This is Mr. Smith, Head of Radiography.
Hi.
Mr. Smith assisted with the investigation. How are you?
I'm doing well considering, thank you. This is my advocate, Penny Wayforward.
Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Well, as I said to you over the phone, we have now concluded the investigation.
So, can you tell us what happened then?
Firstly, I'd like to extend our apologies once again to you for the additional treatment you had to have. I understand that you needed a second X-ray, surgery and an anaesthetic. We have investigated the matter and it appears that the fracture was not picked up by the locum casualty officer on your first admission. It was then not checked by the consultant within 24 hours, as is the hospital's policy. The mistake was only picked up when the A&D consultant undertook a routine check some 7 days later.
Well, why didn't the consultant check the X-ray if that's normal practice?
It appears that the locum casualty officer failed to correctly diagnose the fracture on the day in question. Furthermore, the X-ray was then placed in the wrong tray, so that the checking systems for X-rays which should have happened did not.
So how can you ensure this doesn't happen to anybody else?
I can assure you that we have learnt lessons from this unfortunate mistake, and as a result we've now put in practice a new system that ensures that all our new doctors are familiar with local A&E procedures such as the checking and reporting of X-rays. Also, the tray for the X-rays that need to be checked are now much more clearly marked and are in a different place to other routine documentation. Also, the A&E department are undertaking regular checks to ensure that all X-rays are seen within 24 hours by a senior member of staff. We'll be monitoring these changes and hoping that we can learn from this.
Well, that's very good, but what about me? I had to take 6 weeks off work and I'm only temp. I didn't get paid, you know. What can I do?
Mrs. Davis, we understand that you've taken a longer time off work than you needed to, and we have taken this into consideration. In recognition of your additional treatment, your pain and suffering and your loss of earnings, we would like to offer you some financial compensation. The offer is included in writing in the investigation report. The offer comes attached with conditions which are explained in the report. Please take the report away and read it thoroughly, and if you have any queries, don't hesitate to contact us. You have our contact details. I would stress again how sorry we are that this mistake has happened, and we hope that you feel reassured that we have put changes in place to prevent such a mistake happening again.
Well, it's quite a lot to take in. We'll take the report away and have a read through it and get back to you soon with regards to your offer. But thanks for your help.
Thank you very much.